You're listening to Conversations Ignite.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're joined by Tricia Copeland, an award-winning author best known for her captivating stories that span fantasy, dystopian, and young adult fiction. Tricia has won multiple literary awards, including a Gold Award in the Global Book Awards. Today we'll be diving into her writing journey, the inspiration behind her books, and how she creates compelling characters. And also, what's next for her as an author. Tricia, we're glad to have you on today.
Thank you, Robert.
So what kind of inspired you to become a writer?
I was bored more than anything. I stayed home with 3 young kids. I was a stay-at-home mom. And after they went to bed, when I was looking, browsing Netflix one day, it just wasn't doing it for me. So I decided, I could create my own stories. And that was a creative outlet for me. I didn't really plan to publish those. And I gave the stories to a couple of my friends, and they said, these are actually good. You should do something with them. I have a friend who's an editor and independently published as well. So she helped me along the journey, and I haven't stopped writing since. So.
Oh, very neat. So you actually don't have any formal writing education?
I don't know. I've taken a lot of classes since I started writing, but I didn't enjoy writing until my graduate school. I have a master's degree in microbiology. My graduate professor taught me how to do technical writing, and I really figured out I enjoyed that writing process. And then in my further research, I became a patent drafter. So that's what I do in my day job now. I draft patent applications, but that's a very technical thing. It's definitely not writing about witches and fairies.
That's very cool. It's cool to see how even though you don't have any kind of formal education, your passion really carries over and allows you to, publish all these awesome books that you've done.
Yeah, I wouldn't have described myself as a creative person before this because I was that very much science brain. But I realized what I liked about that profession was more than getting the answer. I like figuring out how to get the answer and how to arrange the tests that we need to do and the research and how to answer the question that we needed to get it answered more than really getting the answer. So I kind of, in a roundabout way, learned why I was creative or how I was creative. I think everybody has some amount of creativity. It's just how you use it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Now, you said that one of your friends was an editor. Is that kind of how you got published in the first place?
Yes, and she was self-published too, and I did try to go the traditional publication route and did some querying and had, a spreadsheet of 300 agents I queried, and I really wasn't very patient with that either. So I waited about 6 months and said, I just want my story out there. So I've self-published all my books.
Cool, very cool. Now, your books, they span a lot of different genres. So I believe you've written from fantasy, romance, dystopian fiction. How do you write in such a diverse different way?
It's really using different parts of my brain, I guess, and my emotion, because my fantasy, it's not heavy, but I put my characters through a lot. There's a lot of action there. There's a lot of drama. There's very high stakes. There's these evil spirits hunting them, and they could die at any moment. And some of them do. And I don't like when my characters die. So in between writing those fantasy things, I say, well, I can write a light romance. So the worst thing that can happen is maybe you have a broken heart. And that's how I kind of even out my emotions of writing.
Oh, that's neat. I know that a lot of writers, they only write in one genre, so it's cool when a writer can kind of cross genres and really have good stories through multiple different kinds.
Yeah, I think that I do.
Now, can you kind of share the inspiration behind the Kingdom Journal series?
Right. The Kingdom Journals was my first toe dip into fantasy. My first series I wrote was a fictional account of my experience with anorexia. So I was anorexic as a young adult, and that was my first entry into the writing world or the publishing world. And but really, my love is vampires, witches, everything fantasy. So when I set out to write this fantasy book, it actually was supposed to be a vampire series, but the first character I created was a vampire witch hybrid. She's 17 years old. Her name is Alina, and I needed a challenge, a quest for her, and I gave her this curse on the witch lines. And I don't know, it just like completely switched to being a series about witches. So there's a curse on the witch lines that damns their souls to purgatory and doesn't let them settle in permanent homes. And she has to find two other witches, and then they have to figure out how to break the curse. So that's kind of the gist of the whole series. And each book is a journal because it's about each witch telling their own story of how they came to find each other, and some of them don't even know they're witches in the beginning. And yeah, it's a fun story.
That's cool that you kind of make it into a journal for them. So I guess it's kind of their perception of what's going on.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because Lena, who's the first character, she's a vampire witch hybrid, and when she's telling her story, obviously she has a different impression of herself than other characters do. So by the time you get to the last book, some of the feedback was like, well, Alina sounds like a completely different character. And I'm like, yeah, because other people are seeing how weird she is because she moves at vampire speed, right? She doesn't perceive that she moves in this weird way, but others are going to perceive that, right? So that was an interesting thing for me to realize about the viewpoints of the characters in the stories.
Interesting. Now, how many books in the series are there total?
There are 4 books in the series plus a prequel. And yeah, on my website, I have a reading guide so you can follow along because there is a crossover series to that series as well. And I have an order that I think you should read them in because if you read 1, 2, 3, and then the prequel, that gives you a lot of history to read the finale to the series.
Now, what's the fascination with witches and vampires and kind of supernatural?
I don't know how that started for me. I've always been interested in fantasy. I read The King Arthur and Merlin as a young, in high school, and then Lord of the Rings, and then got into vampires. And Twilight may have sparked that for me. I guess I'd read Bram Stoker before his Dracula before that, and seen the movies. So mild interest in vampires, but when I actually got time to read, it was Twilight that kind of ignited that. And now I have read almost. I shouldn't say all the vampire series because there probably are so many more out there, but a lot of them.
So, what would you say your favorite vampire book or series is besides your own?
I love L.J. Smith's The Vampire Diaries, the Netflix series. I love that series. I love the spin-off originals. I love that one. I've read L.J. Smith's books. I still love Bram Stoker and Nosferatu. Those are obviously darker than The Vampire Diaries. The originals got a little darker too, but I love True Blood. I love all of them. Yeah. I don't think I've met one that I didn't like.
That's very cool. Now, was this the first book that you actually got published, the first series, or was there books before this?
Yeah, so before this, I published the Being Me series, which is that series about the girl with anorexia. It follows her through 4 years of college, into her disease, and then recovering from the disease.
Okay, cool.
So that was obviously very heavy subject matter, and writing about witches and vampires after that was much easier.
Yeah, and I love to see how you can flip back and forth, and it kind of seems like maybe it gives you a break from kind of when you're kind of serious to moving to something fun, and then maybe back to something serious. So it sounds like it can be a good way to go back and forth.
It really is for me.
Now, So I don't want to butcher the title of this, but is it To Be a Fae Queen?
Yes.
Okay, good. I got it right. Now that recently won the Gold Award and the Global Books Award, correct?
Yes.
And now, what was it like receiving that recognition?
It was really exciting. I've gotten that series, the second book of that series, won an award from the Independent Book Publishers Association for the audiobook with my narrator, Jillian Yetter. So it was really fun for the first book to be getting some recognition too.
That's cool. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, can you kind of explain what the Global Book Awards are?
Global Book Awards is just an organization that I think mostly independent publishers join their awards. So just an opportunity for maybe lesser known authors or artists to get recognition.
It's very cool, and it's cool that you won the Gold Award in that. That's very neat.
I was very excited. Yeah.
Now, is that the first award that you've won for one of your books?
No, Kingdom of Embers, the first book in the Kingdom Journals, won the Colorado Independent Book Publishers Association Silver Award that was in 2019. And a couple of my other books have gotten the Reader's Favorite, Reader's Choice, 5-star ratings, and Gold and Silver awards.
That's awesome. So lots of awards. That's awesome. Now, how long does it kind of take you to write? First off, how long does it take you to write like one of your books? And then actually, how long does it take to complete a series?
So I have finished the book in as little as 6 weeks, but that's when I was writing 2 or 3, 4 hours a day and just really knew what the book was before I even started. I knew like all the major plot points and where it was going to start and end and who the characters were, and I really had a good idea. So I can do it faster, but usually it takes about 3 months to write a book for me if I'm writing every day and really staying at it. It can take as long as 6 months if I don't have as much time. But yeah, and so for a whole series, I published Kingdom of Embers, I believe in 2017, and then so it was I think it was 5 years for 5 books. I was publishing 2 to 3 books a year, but those were in the different genres, right? A romance and a fantasy. But it's kind of slowed down since COVID. I haven't had as much time. So 1 to 2 books a year is probably enough.
And that was going to be my next question was, do you actually write multiple books at the same time? And it sounds like you do.
No, not at the same time. If I'm writing fantasy, I'm writing fantasy, and then I'll finish that book. And then sometimes if I'm in the editing phases, I might start another book. But my brain can't. I'll start writing witches in the romance, and they're not supposed to be there. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, once you finish one book in one series, do you start another book in another series, or do you write the series all together?
I write the series all together. Yeah. I can't. Yeah, I have the need to wrap up my characters, and well, depending on my romance series are really more open ended because I'm featuring a different couple in each book, but the couples are all friends. They're all not related, but they know each other. They live in the same place. They all went to college together. So that is a little more open-ended. Like I can keep bringing more friends into that. But for my fantasy series, I like to have this overarching quest that they can complete and be happy. And then, I'm finding that I can't put my fantasy characters through too much. Like I just have to leave them alone. I won't even touch the next generation with some new evil. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Now your novel, Azreya, Aztec Priestess, that also won an award in the science fiction and fantasy category, correct?
Right, Azreya. And that was a really fun project because I worked with an artist for that. And it was the first time I'd ever we didn't really co-write, we came up with a storyline together, and then I wrote the book and he illustrated it. So we both had this idea of writing some type of goddess or a female character that was a strong female character, and his heritage is Mexican heritage. So we set that, and he came up with the name Azreya, and then I did some research and said this could be a Latino name. I think we can come up with an Aztec character who I'm not going to give too much away in that book, but it's a really fun book. It's about a young girl who it has a mark on her hand when she's born, and the shaman tells the parents she's cursed, and so the parents give her to the shaman when she's 4, and she grows up with the shaman, and she can tell the future. So she realizes by the time she's about 12 that the shaman is really using her to make money. So he brings in people, and she sees their future, and he tells what she says, right? And then one day, when the king of the Aztec city state that they're in comes, and he's scared about the Spanish invading, and the shaman lies to the king and to make more money, right? And so she realizes, wait a minute, this can't happen anymore. So she leaves the shaman and kind of goes out on her own quest to save her people, but through this vision that she had of how she could save her people.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a really awesome book. Now, what inspired the idea for that book?
Like I said, I met this artist, and his name is Matt Mays, and he has beautiful art. Like, I can't even, if you look up his art, he draws it all by hand. So he has these beautiful pictures, hand drawn, of these goddesses. And I think we met in 2020, like on a Zoom call, and I looked at this art and I connected with him, and we started talking, and he said, well, we should do something together. And I was thinking a coloring page, right? Like, he could draw some of my characters from my books, and we could co-promote this coloring page or coloring book. He's like, why don't we write a book together? And I thought, wow, like, he was thinking much bigger than I was. So it was just fun to come up with that character and for him to illustrate the book.
That's cool. That's cool that just, meeting him on a Zoom call, seeing his art, y'all talking, actually led to a storyline. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So, what's the best piece of writing advice that you would give to somebody?
Just keep writing, I think. I've taken several courses on characters, on plot, and obviously there's lots of different ways to learn to write or to hone your skill. I just recently took a screenwriting course, and I really feel like that is helping me, like, really get focused on plot and making sure you hit all the right plot points that people are like. But just keep writing. I mean, if you love it, just keep doing it.
Now, you said you just took a screenwriting class. Are you planning on maybe doing any kind of movies or anything?
I would love to. I'm adapting several of my books to feature film screenplays, and we'll see where that goes. I know that sometimes, people's books get picked up, and then the production company takes it wherever they want. And that would be fine with me too, because even adapting my own book to a screenplay, I have gone so not completely like a 180 of what the book is, but definitely choosing like which scenes you're going to see. And it has a very different feel from the book, which is interesting.
Neat. So today, if one of your series was picked up, or you could have a movie, or a whole like franchise made, which series would it be?
I would choose the Kingdom Journals because it's an urban fantasy and it's contemporary, so it's easy to make. The Fae Fantasy is a crossover series, and that's also contemporary, but then you have the whole Middle Earth, a medieval feel for that setting that's going on, unbeknownst to most humans, below our Earth. So those would be really fun. I think it would be a really good saga because there's so. I mean, now it's going to be a 10-book series basically this July. The finale to the Realm Chronicles comes out. So.
Oh, wow. Now, I have to say any series with a vampire is the one that I would want to see. vampires, witches, that's what I would want to see. That's the kind of movies I love.
Yeah. Yeah, so that one has all the vampires and the witches. So, yes, there's vampires as well as vampire hybrids. And then when the Fae come in, there are a lot more characters. But
That's cool. I hope one day soon that they do get picked up and that you do get to make series out of them.
well, thanks. Yeah, I will sign you up for watching it, and you can vote for me.
Please, yes. Now your books, they usually have a very strong, like, magical protagonist in it. How do you develop your characters? Do you get it from, like, real life real life inspiration, or how do you come up with the character?
With Alina, I just wanted a character because it is a young adult book. I wanted to show she's a vampire witch hybrid, and she goes through a human high school. So already she has 3 challenges right there. And vampire witch hybrids are forbidden by both the witches and the vampires. So when she's with the vampires, she has to pretend to be a vampire. She can't be part witch. So she has to hide that part of herself. And then she goes to a human high school where she can't be a witch or a vampire. So she really struggles with, where do I fit in? What community am I going to belong to when I grow up? And I think all of those are like very poignant questions for people at that age, between 13, 14 to age 18 to 20, or even a little bit older sometimes. So just the aspect of talking about those issues in a little bit safer environment. I think sometimes we can look at and explore how we feel about those issues in a fantasy world when it might feel a little more uncomfortable to explore them in our real world.
Oh, cool. Now, with all these different genres that you write in, do you have a favorite genre?
I think fantasy is my favorite. Yeah, I will say that it's the easiest for me to write, and that's sad to say that romance seems harder for me to write. When I first started trying to write romance, my first romance was kind of like an alternate ending book, because I couldn't see myself just writing, like, happily ever after perfect romance story. So it's like 5 different romances for my main character, and I kind of insinuate that the reader should decide who they think the perfect person is for that character.
Ah. Now, you said your favorite would have to be fantasy. Are there any challenges that you have writing fantasies? Because you said it was pretty easy.
Well, I mean, it's easy. I guess my brain is creative that way. Like, I can say, okay, I have a beginning and an end, and what are the fun things that are going to be ups and downs for them to get them to the end. Um, but what's been challenging for me is because I release the books in the series like one after the other, I don't have the whole series written when I release a book. And so sometimes I come up against a plot point where I want the plot point in the story, but I've already made the rule before that can't work. Like, so, sometimes you have to work around those. And I know a lot of authors will like write their whole series out to make sure that they don't break any of their laws, or to make sure they have all the rules that will allow them to do what they want to do with the story. So I guess that's the only thing that's been really challenging, and that's kind of self-imposed, I guess. Yeah, and I've had to go back and start making outline. Like, I don't like to outline a lot before, so I've had to go back and like write an outline after the fact so that we can remember everything that happened in all the different books.
That makes sense. I to me, I would think it would be a little difficult to remember the whole storyline of everything. Um, I'm not sure for writers. I definitely am not a writer, but from my thinking, that'd be kind of hard if you're not writing it all in the same time period.
Right, yeah. I mean, this is spanning 4 or 5 years for the whole series. So my editor was finally like, you have to do this because I can't remember all of this.
Now, I'm sure as a writer, at some point you've kind of gotten some writer's block.
A little bit sometimes. I feel like I'm in that weird space right now. Like I finished the finale to the Realm Chronicle series, but it doesn't release till July, and I'm at the prefaces. Anyway, at the point I will say more concisely of okay, where do I go next? And I have a start to a romance, um, but you know, we'll see. I have also two ideas from some other fantasy characters that did some cameos in this last series. So we'll see where that goes.
Cool. So the few times that you get like writer's block, how do you get out of it?
Usually just getting out of the space that I'm in, going outside, taking a walk, doing something usually active and different that lets my brain kind of take a rest and not like be so serious about solving the problem.
That sounds like some good sound advice. Just get up and do something different.
Yeah.
Now, you have won multiple awards for all of your books. Has that kind of shaped how your writing career or anything? Has anything kind of changed since you've been winning all these awards or?
Well, definitely have more people reading my books, which is what I want, what all authors want. Um, and it's just fun to meet other authors. Like if I go to some of these award ceremonies and meet them and see what they're doing, and um, that's a lot of fun. I was able to, with the award I got for my audiobook to Be A Fae Guardian, I got to meet my narrator live and in person, so that was a fun experience. We got to be there together. So yeah, so coming together with other authors is always fun.
Oh, interesting. Now, you said you're self-published. Is it harder? Are there any challenges, or is it harder to be self-published?
I think you just have to choose your people really well. You have to make sure you're hiring good quality people who, are going to follow through and do help you, and lead you in the right direction and help you produce a really good quality product. And just making sure that you have those contracts in place and that you're following through on all of those. So just, I mean, it's definitely a business when you're self-publishing.
It kind of sounds like you've got a couple different jobs going on right now.
I do, yes. I stay a little bit busy.
Now I like that you brought up your audiobooks. Audiobooks are, really popular nowadays. And you said that you have a narrator. How did you go about getting a narrator for your audiobooks?
Yeah, so the Kingdom Journals has the prequel is not on audiobook, but the four books of the Kingdom Journals is on audiobook. And I tried finding a narrator through ACX. They have a program where you can put your book out there and somebody will match. The two matches I got really didn't work out, so I gave it a break. And I was at a book conference a few years back, anyway, before COVID, and there was a narrator walking around handing out her card. So I met her live and in person, and I thought, oh well, maybe I could just follow up with her, talk to her. So she read a little bit of the book, and I really liked her voice for my characters. So I was able to hire her for the two female leads, and then she was able to connect me with the male lead narrators. For the last two books are male characters. And so the next narrator, Jillian Yetter, I found her as well through these two other narrators. And then my new narrator, Tina, oh wow, Tina, I'll just call her Tina because I'm going to badger her last name. But yeah, so finding narrators through other narrators has been the best way, and meeting that person live and in person was the best way for me to find someone that was, you know, good, reputable, and were professional too.
Interesting. And um, you kind of brought up a good point. I, I guess you have to be comfortable with them. They have to be comfortable with the series. The voice has to be right. I never really thought about all that. Everything kind of has to match for the narrator, so it makes sense for the books.
It does, yeah. And narrators can change their voice to a certain degree, but my female narrator didn't want to read two whole long books in more of a deeper male voice. That's why she suggested me getting a male narrator for the male characters, and they I mean, there are female characters too, and the male characters will just raise their voice a little bit to make them sound a little more female. Um, and obviously, there's some audiobooks that have multiple narrators. That's amazing to be able to do that too. My budget hasn't allowed me to do that yet, but yeah. So it's and I never really thought about it when my narrator was giving me samples because it's two different characters. So he wanted the voice to do for the two different books to be a little bit different voice. He was like, "Do you want it to sound like Keanu Reeves or Han Solo?" And I was like, I never thought about the fact that a narrator could kind of match their tone to another, to a character. But yeah, so I guess it makes sense when you think about the technology and the voice.
Yeah, it really does. Like I said, I never thought about all of that until you just kind of brought it up. That's very cool to see. Have you seen since you've done a bunch of audiobooks, what are people more tending to do now? Is it more like hardback books? Are they still reading books, or are they going more towards audiobooks?
I think people are still doing everything. I see so many online, and you see my whole blank wall here, right? Like my my dream is to have like bookshelves all along the wall and all my beautiful books sitting up there. Um, so I see people doing hardcovers. I see people doing paperbacks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks because when I'm doing my chores, that kind of keeps me going, or if I'm exercising or running or walking. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks, which I think is great because it gives us a whole other way to consume books that we weren't able to do in the past. But I think there's going to be a space for all of them going forward.
Yeah, I can see that. When you're driving or working out or doing stuff around the house, it's cool that you can still be reading your book while you're doing all of the things that you got to do throughout the day. You're not technically reading it, but you're listening to it. But then at night, you can sit down and pick it back up and relax and actually read the book.
Yeah, and because I write for a living too, after a whole day of staring at the screen, I don't tend to pick up my Kindle.
That makes sense.
I tend to pick up a paperback or a hardcover.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would kind of imagine you really wouldn't want to see the Kindle or the computer after all that.
Right.
Now, if you could co-write a book with any author, could be any author, living, dead, who would that be and why?
Wow. I would have said L.J. Smith, but she just passed away. So her books were amazing and very creative, and all the characters were wonderful. Let's see. Wow. I might choose maybe Rebecca Yarros. I think I really like her writing style. Probably some indie authors that I know. I think we would vibe really well together. I have Rose Garcia writes about fae and fairies too, and her fae a little bit different from mine. So I keep pitching her like our fairies could meet up and they could solve some problems together. And she's like, my fairies can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I can figure out how to get us there. You just need to like commit to me.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. Um, that's very cool. And some very good authors that I would be awesome to, if you could ever get the opportunity to actually co-write with, would be very neat.
It would be, yes.
Now you're an avid runner, correct?
Yes.
Does running help you uh, get in the creative process, or how does that help you?
Definitely. I am always thinking about my characters and my plot and my story. And a lot of times, maybe it's the adrenaline or whatever, but I can think of my best ideas while I'm running and, you know, think myself out of or into like whatever next plot line needs to happen to get the book where it needs to be.
Cool. Yeah. So that's kind of like your creative space.
It is. And like for my dystopian books, hiking as well as running kind of creates those ideas and helps me visualize a lot of times like Lovelock Ones is set in Colorado partly, and so visualize like their landscape too.
Neat. Now, what's next for you as an author? I heard you say that you're getting ready to release another book. Are you working on even more books right now?
Right. So I'm getting in July to Be A Fae, which is the final book in the Realm Chronicles series, will release. And the fourth book to Be A Fae Rogue will release in audiobook about the same time, maybe a month earlier. The Fae Rogue will release in audiobook. So that's very exciting. And then I'll produce the finale audiobook probably in 2026. So that will round out that whole like two series crossover series, which is really fun. I have a romance in the works that I need to get back to, and then like I said, I have those two ideas for characters. I'm just trying to decide which way to go. A lot of times I will go to my subscriber list and say, okay, which character do you want me to write? And so, but I can't do that until they've read the book, the other book, because that would be a little bit of a spoiler. So, yeah, I might wait and ask them that when they read the finale.
Cool. It sounds like you've got a lot of cool stuff coming up soon. So when you write your books, what do you want your readers to take away from them?
It's really different in every book. Some of my books themes like family, loyalty, courage, faith, hope. Each book kind of has a different little theme to it, depending on what the challenges my characters are going through. I got the idea for my Fae Queen main character, Titania, when I was challenged to write in an anthology, and the character was supposed to have a mental or psychiatric challenge. And so I made her have anxiety and panic attacks. But a Fae princess who's in line to be a queen can't really have those. They shouldn't have those, right? So she was really challenged to, make some decisions around, can she really do this? Can she manage her anxiety? Can she manage the panic attacks and think through those things? So those are things that we as humans in our little human realm here deal with a lot. And so overcoming those things are either learning to work around and be okay with them and accept them and accept yourself for how you are really good things. They were good things for me to, I guess, adopt as a young person. So I want to like put those out in the universe.
Cool. So each different kind of story, you want a reader to get something different out of each story.
Right, and plus have fun. They're fun stories too, right? It's entertainment. It doesn't have to be heavy and a message every time, but if you're looking for them, they're there.
Yeah. Now, let's see. If you could describe your style in 3 words, like your writing style, because I know you've got so many, how would you describe it in just 3 words?
I would say light, simple, and straightforward. Can that be one word?
That's awesome.
Usually I write first person present tense. The Realm Chronicles series with the fairies is first person present tense. The Kingdom Journals is first person past tense because it's journals, like they're writing after the fact. They're telling you what happened. So I've written third person in some of my shorter stories, so I'm just dipping my toe in the third person, which a lot of people in fantasy books, that seems to be more the norm sometimes, but mine has just been that first person account, so you really know what's going on in the main character's head and how they're feeling, what they're experiencing.
Gotcha. I can imagine it may be hard to go back between like first person and third person.
It is, yes. And past and present, when I start a new book or a new series, I have to decide all those things. And if it's a switch from what I was doing last, then it takes me a while to reteach myself.
Now, what kind of authors have you been inspired by? Who's been your inspiration to, start writing and keep writing?
Well, like I said, I was in love with the Twilight series. So just the fact that Stephanie Meyer had this one dream and created this 5-book series and 5 movie series was really cool to me. And I kind of thought to myself, well, she could just have no writing background and write a series, then definitely I could, right? But authors like Cassandra Clare, her fantasy is amazing. PC and Kristen Cast, who has the Night series. I think it's the Night series. It's a vampire series as well. They're great authors. There's so many great authors.
There are, and it's I love how you said like the Twilight series, she had no writing background, so it just proves anybody can do it.
Right. And that was kind of my I think a lot of times I don't start things because I like finishing things. If I start them, I'm not going to quit. So I was like, okay, if another mom can do this, then I probably can do this.
Yeah, that's it's cool. Now, how would you describe success in your own words?
If most people that read my book like my book, then I feel successful. Obviously, there's always a right book for every reader. Like every reader is not going to love your book, but I would hope that people that read in the young adult and fantasy, urban fantasy genres like my characters, like my storylines, and just really enjoy the creativity and the worlds that are there.
I love how you said, as long as people are reading my books and loving them, that's success.
Definitely. And telling me, and I love when people tell me about it. So when they email me or, send me a message and lets me know, they make my day.
That's awesome. It has been such a great pleasure today, Tricia, to have you on and talk about all your books, all the great things you've done. If anybody would like to learn more about your books, maybe buy some of your books, where can they buy your books?
They can buy them paperbacks are at most places. If you don't see it in your bookstore, then you can ask them to order it. You can contact me and get a signed book if you're in the U.S., the 48 states. And you can also get the ebooks and audiobooks on Amazon as well. The Kingdom Journals, the audiobooks are wide. The Realm Chronicles is on Audible. So you can also go to my website, which is triciacopeland.com, and you can read 2 free short stories when you sign up for my newsletter. So if you want to try out my stories and kind of get introduced to my world, then that's a great place to do that.
Awesome. Do you have any other social media like YouTube, TikTok, anything like that?
I do. I have a YouTube channel. I also produce a podcast. So my podcast is Finding the Magic Podcast, and you'll meet other authors on that podcast as well. But I have trailer videos on YouTube of all my books, playlists, and lots of fun things like that. But I also am on Facebook as well as Instagram and TikTok as Tricia Copeland Author or Author Tricia Copeland. You can find me one of those ways.
Awesome. Like I said, Tricia, it's been great to have you on today. Your books just sound amazing. They make me want to go out and buy every single one of them right now, especially, like I said, the vampire ones. But it's been really fun to get to talk to you today and learn about your writing processes, how you have just done so much, and all the awesome series that you have going on right now.
Well, thank you, Robert. Yeah, I was really excited to come on the podcast. Your content was very inspiring for that creative person.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that also. Hopefully, let me know as soon as you get your next book published, and I'd love to have you on, or not published, but released, and I'd love to have you on again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will come on.
Awesome. Well, everybody, please go check out Tricia's website. Grab some of her books. They sound amazing. Follow her on her YouTube, and as always, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Conversations Ignite. See you next time.